As the muggy summer of 2017 envelopes Mark's solitary existence, an innocuous shower becomes a portal to the unknown. Amidst the steam and soft patter of water, the mirror reveals a chilling truth, a spectral figure, a harbinger of despair, lurking within its depths. What begins as a haunting encounter spirals into a descent into madness as Mark confronts an ancient evil lurking in the shadows of his home. Join us on a journey through fear and uncertainty as Mark battles the darkness within and without, where every step forward brings him closer to the edge of oblivion. Will he emerge victorious, or will he succumb to the malevolent forces that seek to devour his soul? Dive deep into the abyss and discover the chilling truth that awaits. Welcome to Eerie Encounters and Hauntings. We are thrilled to have you join us for 2 new spine-tingling tales of the paranormal each week, stories that will make you shiver with fear and keep you on the edge of your seat. From haunted houses to possessed objects, we have the most bone-chilling tales of the supernatural. Get ready for a terrifying journey into the unknown with our bone-chilling episodes featuring blood-curdling stories that will send shivers down your spine. So hit that like button, share the horror with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. This story will make shiver in fright. This is entitled Mark's Terrifying Descent into Darkness. This was shared by Cayenne from Jericoster. Let's get started. Mark was by himself at home in the muggy summer of 2017. It was very hot and there was no one else around. He ran away from the hot day by taking a cool shower. The water splashed on his skin and gave him a short break from the hot sun outside. But in the bathroom, where it was safe, somewhere strange happened amidst the steam and the soft sound of the water. Mark stood under the spray and couldn't take his eyes off the mirror on the wall. The yin-yang shape and soft yellow color of the mirror made it look like it had a spirit from another world. For a split second, the image in the mirror became distorted, showing a terrifying sight. A ghostly figure, a young girl, was standing in front of Mark's image. Her form was ethereal, and her eyes were haunting. She looked sad and hopeless because she was wearing a worn yellow dress, her hair was a mess, and her eyes were blank. She was marked as a sign of bad things to come because blood ran down her pale skin and stained her dress. Mark stood still in fear as he watched the girl stay still, her ghostly eyes locked on his. It seemed like time had stopped because the air was so cold and chilly, making the whole room feel uneasy. Then Mark's senses suddenly came back to life in a terrifying rush, which threw him out of the bathroom in a panic. Mark ran out of the bathroom without caring that he was naked. He was shaking and naked. He stumbled into the empty house with his heart racing, wanting to get away from the ghost that had broken into his safe place. After being in his room for a while, he felt safe enough to breathe again, but the memory of the scary event was still fresh in his mind. Mark made a terrible choice while being haunted by the ghostly figure. When he turned the mirror around, he blocked the scary look from the other side. He didn't dare tell anyone about the scary experience. But it looked like the mirror had a bad power of its own because it wouldn't stay turned. It kept readjusting itself to face the room again. Mark decided to get rid of the mirror because he didn't want to be affected by its evil energy anymore. Even so, every time he tried to get rid of the evil object, fate got in the way and stopped him. His efforts to get rid of the mirror seemed to fail, as if the mirror itself was determined to stay. Its dark power gradually took over the house. In the days that followed, Mark couldn't get enough of his burning desire to find out more about the mysterious girl in the mirror. He did a lot of study and found out a lot about the house's hidden history and the secrets it held in his search for answers. What he found was a story that had been lost over time and was full of sadness and loss. A terrible thing happened in this house a long time ago. A young girl named Roberta died horribly and for no clear reason. It looked like her spirit was stuck in the mirror and would have to walk around the world in pain forever. Mark set out on a dangerous trip into the heart of darkness because he wanted to free Roberta's restless soul. He talked to experts in the magical arts and looked into old spells and practices to find a way to free the ghost girl from the mirror's control. With what he had learned, Mark stood in front of the mirror again, getting ready for the conversation that was about to happen. His voice could be heard clearly in the room as he repeated the ancient words of freedom with shaking hands. Then, there was a bright flash of light, and the mirror broke into 1,000 pieces. Its dark power was finally broken. As the pieces hit the ground, there was a sense of calm in the room, and Mark knew that Roberta's spirit had finally been freed. But that wasn't the end of the story. Mark's journey had just started. He kept looking into the secrets of the supernatural because he was always hungry to learn more. His desire to understand led him deeper and deeper into the unknown. Even though he would always remember that terrible meeting, Mark came out of the shadows like a bright light in the darkness. His bravery and drive shone through in the face of the unknown. He looked into things more and more, and the evil force that had been hiding in the shadows started to show itself more and more clearly. Strange things started to happen more often, which made the house shake with fear. Mark could no longer ignore the evil force that was surrounding him, so he dug deeper into his study, determined to find the source of the evil energy that was trying to consume him. He read old books and talked to occult experts, putting together bits of information in a desperate attempt to figure out the secrets that were hidden in the shadows. The more he learned, though, the more he understood what kind of darkness had taken over his home. It wasn't just a ghost or a cursed object, it was a force that had been around long before the house did and was much older and more evil. Mark kept going even though he felt scared and uneasy. He was determined to face the darkness that had been bothering him for a long time, and it led his every move. At that point, one terrible night, as he dug deeper into his study, he found something that gave him chills. A scary prophecy was buried deep in old books. It talked about an evil from the past that was sleeping under the ground, calmly waiting for the day it would wake up. As Mark read the words written on the falling pages, he felt sick to his stomach because he knew he had accidentally woken up a force he couldn't understand. Mark was more and more afraid that he wasn't going to have enough time. Every day, the darkness got stronger. Its hunger was never-ending, and its thirst for ruin was never-ending. From where he stood, Mark saw a world filled with darkness. He knew he was the only one who could fight the darkness and bring light back to the world. As he got ready to face the ancient evil that lived below the ground, though, he had a cold realization: some secrets in darkness were never meant to be revealed or faced. Mark knew that his journey had just started and that the real horror had yet to show itself as the last words of the prophecy echoed through the empty halls of the house. It seemed like the evil force that had taken root in Mark's home got stronger every night. It hung over him like a dark cloud. He desperately needed a break from the never-ending pain, so he looked for comfort in the warm light of the day. But even then, the darkness seemed to follow him like a bad ghost, twisting and distorting reality with its sneaky influence. Thus, as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Mark was in a terrible fight for his soul that he thought he was losing. But only time would tell if he would crawl out of the pit without any harm or if he would become another victim of the darkness that had taken over him. Mark's home went from being a quiet place to live to a scary maze of fear and doubt as the nights got longer and the shadows got darker. Strange whispers could be heard in the halls, but no one could figure out where they were coming from. He could also see ghostly shapes flickering around the edges of his vision, but they disappeared when he looked straight at them. No matter how hard Mark tried to stay calm, the feelings of fear were growing around his heart with each passing day. Sleep became hard to come by because he had nightmares every time he tried to sleep. The vivid pictures of them burned into his mind like scars. Mark dug deeper into his study, reading ancient books and talking to well-known occult experts in an attempt to regain control over his reality that was falling apart. But as each new detail came to light, he felt himself getting closer and closer to going crazy, and the line between the real and the supernatural became less clear. Mark was studying old books in his poorly lit study one night when there was no moon. He felt a presence behind him that made his blood freeze. With great care and slowness, Mark turned to face the source of the scary feeling. But when he did, he saw the ghostly girl's eyes in the mirror. She stood in front of him, her shape shifting like a dream. But her eyes were so focused on him that they seemed like they could swallow him whole. Mark reached out to touch her with a shaking hand to make sure she was real and not just a dream in his broken mind. He reached out to touch the ghost, but before he could, it vanished into a cloud of wispy mist, leaving only a cold feeling that filled the air he breathed. Mark was scared after what happened and knew he could no longer deny the evil force that had taken root in his home. That thing was no longer stuck in the darkness or just on the edge of his awareness, it was hungry for his very essence, like a wild animal that would do anything to get its prey. Mark was getting closer and closer to giving up as the days turned into weeks and then months. His once unbreakable spirit was weakening under the weight of his never-ending pain. As hopeless as he felt, there was still a small spark of rebellion that wouldn't go out, even when things looked the worst. Mark went out into the darkness that was trying to consume him with nothing but his bravery and unwavering resolve. He wanted to get rid of it from his home for good. But he had no idea that in his search for salvation, he would find out secrets that were much worse than he could have thought. Secrets that would put him in a nightmare from which he could never wake up. For deep within his world there was an evil that had been around for a very long time, a primordial force that had been sleeping for eons, waiting for its chance to strike. As Mark went deeper into the darkness that was surrounding him, he unintentionally woke up the beast from its eternal sleep, letting out a fear that would tear his life apart. As Mark stands on the edge of oblivion, he knows that his fate is in his hands and that every choice he makes will affect the outcome of a fight that goes beyond time and space. Will he win and shine like a source of light in the suffocating darkness, or will he fall into the abyss, which draws closer and closer? As the darkness closes in on him, they want to eat him whole because they are so hungry for his soul. Only time will tell. As the last sounds of his desperate battle fade into the abyss, one question remains unanswered, a question that stays with people who are brave enough to see the dark sides of reality. Will Mark ever be able to get away from the darkness that wants to swallow him, or will he become another victim of the evil force that follows him around all the time? As the darkness gets tighter around Mark, he has the terrifying thought that he may not be able to get out of the web of terror he has become entangled in while searching for the truth. And as the evil force gets closer, its whispers getting louder with each second that goes by, Mark finds himself on the edge of oblivion, his fate hanging dangerously in the air. In the middle of the abyss, where reality bends and twists into grotesque shapes, Mark has to decide whether to give in to the darkness that is calling him or fight for his soul with all his might, even though he knows that winning may cost him too much. When the shadows wrap around him and swallow him whole, the sounds of his desperate struggle reverberate into the void, leaving behind nothing but a haunting silence that says volumes about the horrors that are just beyond his awareness. If this video left you spellbound, dive deeper into the world of chilling tales by joining our channel, Eerie Encounters and Hauntings. Access a treasure trove of bone-chilling stories waiting for you with new episodes 2 times a week. Spread the fear among your friends and family who crave a good scare and give them goosebumps. We'd love to hear your spine-tingling experiences as well, so don't hesitate to share them in the comments. You can also send us your story so we can feature it in one of our future episodes. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay scared. Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. The stories depicted in this video are shared by people who believe they are true, but they have not been verified. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the people who shared the stories and do not necessarily reflect the views of YouTube, Google, or Facebook. The channel does not endorse the views expressed in this video. This video is not intended to be used as evidence of any supernatural or paranormal activity. If you are experiencing paranormal activity, please contact a qualified professional.